All right. So this is the 5th week of working with the Get-Up, the Turkish Get-Up. This week the intention is repetition, but also pausing at some of the more complex transition of the Get-Up. So we will look at especially that one where we have to sweep our knee back and underneath to come into that half kneeling position. So that is the major transition we'll be working on, but we'll look at a couple others. So the only props that we will need tonight are a dumbbell or a kettlebell, working with a light to medium weight, so anywhere between that 5 to 10 pounds. And then a soft, not a really heavy shoe, kind of a light shoe, a flip-flop might work, but something that is flat-soled on the bottom. We're going to use it to work with the Get-Up today. So with that, we'll move the props out of the way, and we will come and start lying on your back. So as usual, we'll start with that. I'm going to check in. So starting with the legs extended long to the ground, your arms resting in a comfortable position. Make any adjustments. You can bend the knees to do that if you need to feel like you are kind of as even as you can be in the beginning. And then start to scan your body, so noticing how the feet set, which one is closer to the floor. You might notice how far the knees sit away from the floor. Noticing the heaviness on the back of your hips and the pelvis itself. Where does the weight settle along the edges of the sacrum? And notice the low back and the ribs. Where do they set in relation to the floor? How much space is under your low back? And notice the entire spine from the tip of the tailbone all the way up to the top of the neck. You might notice where your nose or your chin point. Which one of those points up towards the sky? And then also just notice the shoulders and the arms. Where do the shoulder blades sit? And where do the arms naturally rest beside the body? And then go ahead and bend the knees and stand the feet on the ground. We're going to just gently lift and lower the head off the floor, but think of, as you lift, of looking down at your feet. And then let the head go back down. And you're just going to do that 1 or 2 times. As you do this, think first of looking down at your feet. You won't be able to see them. But where do you feel tension? You feel it in the front of the neck, the side, the jaw, the head, the back of the neck. I don't know, where do you feel it? And then go ahead and just let the head rest on the ground. Bend your right knee off the ground, so pick the foot up and reach across with your left hand and grab your right knee. And we're going to think about taking the left shoulder and the right knee towards each other. So you can use your hand to gently pull the knee towards the shoulder, but also round the shoulder off the ground. And then come back You're still holding onto your knees. So you're just kind of creating this gentle cross-body flexion, shoulder towards knee, knee towards shoulder, and coming out of it. And as you move in and out of that, notice what your head does. Is it still on the ground? Do you feel that it moves naturally in a certain way? Does it fall out towards the right shoulder, or does it look towards your left shoulder? And either one of these could be possible. Also, staying still could be possible. The next time you pull the knee and the shoulder together, lift the head off the floor and look down beside your right hip. And then release the head to the ground, release so that the elbow straightens. And then try that a couple of more times. So pulling head and shoulder and knee together. And then curling the head and upper back off the floor. Gaze between your right beside your right hip. Try that a few more times. How does your breath naturally respond? And then if you're not doing it already on these last couple, do that when you exhale is when you round. And last one. Good. Roll back down. Release the knee and both legs to the ground. And just kind of scan from top to bottom. I feel distinctly different and my lower body on the right side and my upper body on the left side just feels like I did something. And the other side feels like, wait, what about me? So let's do that. So go ahead and stand both feet on the ground. Bend the left knee so that the knee is above the hip and reach across your body with the right hand and grab on with the right hand to your left knee. And first we keep the head on the ground and just pull the shoulder and the knee towards each other. So rounding the right shoulder off the ground as you pull with your fingers the left knee towards your right shoulder. And then let it go back to center. And just play with that. And notice how the rest of your body responds. You might notice your spine. You might notice your rib cage. You might notice your left shoulder. What does it do? And then notice what your head does naturally. And then start to allow the head to fall out to the left as you draw the knee and shoulder towards each other. Good. This time, pull the knee and shoulder towards each other and then lift the head, gaze down with your eyes at your outside of your left hip. Feel the shoulder and knee come together and then roll back down. And do this. Each time you roll up, think that your eyes are going to look at that space right beside your left hip so that you go into neck flexion instead of chin towards the floor or to the sky. And then if you're not already doing it, make sure that you time this crunch with the exhale. Good. And release down, extend both legs long, rest the arms down beside your body, and just scan and notice. Good. Bend both knees, bring the feet back to standing on the ground. This time, you're going to take your right hand and your right knee together. You're going to pull your right knee towards your right shoulder and right shoulder towards right knee. And come in and out of that. So the shoulder rolls off the ground, curling up towards your right knee. So same side. Just a couple of more times. Notice how the breath responds. Notice how the head moves naturally. And then go ahead and lower your right foot to the ground. Bend, lift your left knee up. Hold your left knee with your left hand. And do that same exploration on this side. So left shoulder and left knee come towards each other. And notice if one side feels really different, and I mention that because it's so challenging for me to do this on this side, which I just found so interesting because it was so easy. It felt so natural when I was pulling right knee and right shoulder together. I almost feel like instead of the rounding that should naturally happen in my low back, I feel like I want to go into extension in my back. Good. Bring both feet to the ground. Then you're going to bring both knees up. Hold both knees in both hands. And you're going to round. So we started with lifting the head and looking towards the feet. So we'll initiate this movement by curling the chin towards your throat and then round shoulders and knees towards each other. And roll the spine one vertebrae at a time to come back down. So coming in and out. Chin towards throat. Roll the neck and spine off the floor. Good. This last time, hold up. Take the knees so they're over the hips. And I'm going to move to this position so you can see I have my knees wider than my heels. And then I'm going to take the heels of my hands and place them right atop, like right above the knees. And then start to push the hands and the knees towards each other as you gaze right at between the thighs close to the pubic bone. And then start to gently rock side to side. Think of yourself in a barrel. And the barrel's kind of holding all your body parts together. So the shoulder and the hip move together. And I'll show it from this angle. You can see everything moves as one unit, almost like I'm in a cinder block. Good. Release the head down gently. Release the feet to the ground, the arms to the ground. Extend the legs long to the ground. And just check in with where you started. So the first part of the get up, we haven't spent a whole lot of time on. But it kind of takes that element of that last part of our somatic movement and puts it into practice. So if you'll watch just for a moment, we start the get up typically with a weight. We're not going to use a weight, but in the fist that's closest to the hand. So this is my right side, so we'll start on our right side. But I'm going to make a fist with the right hand. And I'm going to take my left hand over it. My elbows are bent, so my arms are not right out here. They're close to my chest. I'm going to roll onto my back. And the right side of my body is going to come off the floor as the left side comes down. And I'll show this from this other angle so you can see how my body parts end up. So, Start on your right side. Elbow is bent and close to your rib. Make a fist with your right hand and grip on top with your left hand. So hold the fist with your left hand. The left side of your body, all as one unit, is going to roll towards the ground. And the left arm and left leg are going to come flat to the ground, 45 degrees away from your body. To come out of that, you're going to bend your elbow towards the floor and at the same time, roll back to where you started. So let's try this 4 to 6 times. So roll the hip and shoulder back at the same time. Left arm, left leg, extend to 45. Right knee is bent to 90. Left arm punches up towards the sky. To come out, bend the right arm towards the chest and roll back onto your side. Try it on your own. And although this looks really easy, it can become really confusing. So I think that the side that's on the ground is going to come off the ground. When I'm in that side lying position, the side that's on the ground, off the ground, is going to come onto the ground. So you end up landing flat on your back, but the left arm, left leg comes long to the ground. Good. We are going to bend the right arm, and we're going to try this from the other side, and I'm going to stay in this position so you can see what's happening to the side that lands on the ground a little bit better. So roll on to your left side. Make a tight fist with your left hand, then take your right hand and grip it over your left fist. The elbows stay close to your body. Think of this top left shoulder or right shoulder and right hip rolling at the same time. So just like when we were in that barrel, the whole body rolls together to roll open. Right arm, right leg lands on the ground, left knees bent, left arms towards the sky. Bend the elbow towards the chest and roll back towards your left side. And try that 4 to 6 times. And we are still thinking about all of the limbs, except for the one obviously that is above your shoulder, they're away from your body 45 degrees. So when you land, the right arm and leg are not in towards the midline, they're out. Try it 2 more times. So this is our first transition of the get-up. And although it seems so simple, it can be complicated. Good. We're going to come back to the right side with the right knee bent and the right arm up. Have your left leg and arm away from your body 45 degrees. So the second movement is also part of what we did in our somatic warm-up. We pulled the knee and the shoulder towards each other. Well, we're not going to pull the knee towards each other, but we're still creating that cross body to roll up onto our left elbow. So think of the rib cage on the right side rolling towards the left hip point. Think of the right shoulder rolling towards your left foot. And when you're ready, come up onto your left elbow. So tuck the chin, look down towards the foot, curl up, chest towards your thumb, fist towards the sky. Good. Roll back down. We're going to do that 7 more times. So a total of 8. So punch up with your hand, find that cross body, and roll up to your elbow. Chest tones towards the left hand, fist towards the sky. Good. Roll back down. Use that exhale. So just like we did in that somatic practice, use the exhale to create that acceleration up that brings you onto your elbow. Good. 3 more. Exhale. Exhale. And last one. Exhale. Good. Roll back down. We're going to switch sides. And I'm going to face away from you, so you might have something that you can catch from seeing this from the back side. So, right arm, right leg are out from the side of the body 45 degrees. Left leg is away from 45, but also bent at 90 degrees. Left fist straight up towards the sky. Good. Start to feel that tug. So from that first practice, think of what you did. You curled the chin in and up towards your throat, and you look to the outside of your right hip. That brings you up onto your elbow. Turn chest towards thumb, fist towards sky. Roll back down. 7 more. Exhale. As you're doing this, notice like your usual things. Do you start to lift your chin towards the sky? Think tuck in and gaze to the outside of the right hip. Do you think of lifting straight up and then twisting? Remember that initiation comes from the left shoulder rolling towards the right foot. The left side of your rib cage tugging down towards your right hip point. 2 more. Exhale. Good. Last one. Good. Roll back down. So we're going to start lying on the right side. And we're going to start from the very beginning. So make that fist with your right hand. Take your left hand and place it on top of your right hand. You're in a fetal position, so knees are bent. And think of rolling open by moving the left shoulder and left hip towards the ground at the same time. Those limbs go long to the ground. Now you're in your first position, and we roll up to our elbow press. So think of that tug and chuck the chin, look down at your foot, roll to elbow press. Good. The next part is to come up onto your left hand. So that's post position. And then we're going to do just 5 hip bridges. So turn your left leg out. Make sure your right knee is bent at 90, not 30 degrees, but 90 degrees. You're pressing the outer edge of your left foot down, the full right foot down. As you lift up into your hip, drive your right knee out over your toes. Don't let it fall in towards the midline. So lift up and come down. Lift up and come down. 3 more. Push through your hand, push through both feet, lift up and come down. Lift up, come down. Go ahead and drop back down onto your left elbow and roll back onto your spine. Bend your right elbow towards the floor. As you do, roll onto your right side. Roll onto your left side. So have that fist with your left hand and wrap the right hand on top. Right shoulder, right hip land at the same time. Right arm, right leg go to the ground. Left knee, right hand point up towards the sky. Find that tug that lifts you up onto your right elbow. Good. And then you're going to come up onto your right hand. Position the right foot out so you feel the outer edge of the foot press down. Left foot presses down. Don't let the knee drop in. Instead, drive it over your forefoot. So lift up for a 5. 1, 2, think buckle to the sky. 3, 4, and 5. Good. Lower the hips, lower the right elbow, roll the spine down, and roll to your left. Fist lands on the ground. Good. Come up and watch for a second. So the next section is probably the most challenging transition. And it's not really that challenging once you get it, but it takes a long time to get it. So we're going to practice 2 different transitions. And the first one is a really simple one. So we'll start with that one. And I'm going to show it from this angle. I don't have a lot of room behind me, but I'm going to show it from this angle. So in this first transition, you'll do the kind of hip lift, but then you'll lower the hips. The leg that is straight, you're just going to bend it and touch it to the opposite foot. Then you're going to lean forward and bring the knee to the ground, and then transition. And then to come out, this left foot will swing off to the right. Hand plants basically in line with the knee that's on the ground, but out in front of it. You'll bring foot to foot, drop the hip, straighten the leg. Got it? So come into this position. So we'll bend right knee, and we'll put the right hand up towards this guy. We'll do 1 hip bridge. So press through both feet, outer edge of the left and full foot of the right. Push the right knee over the toe, lift the hips. Then release the hips to the ground. Bend the left knee to where it touches your right foot. Press down through your left hand and just shift the left knee underneath the left hip. It doesn't go way back here. We're not straightening it. We're just keeping the knee bent and sweeping it directly under the knee. And then turn to face the front edge of the mat. So you face where the right knee is. The right foot doesn't really move. To come out, swing your left foot off to the right. You can see my toes there. Bring the hand in line with your left knee and to the ground out in front of it. You're going to think of keeping the knee bent, bring the feet together, and drop the butt, and then straighten the left leg. Got it? Let's go through this a few times. So hip bridge, lower, left foot to right foot, lift the hips, and just slide the knee under the hip, and then pivot the foot behind you to come up to kneeling. Pivot the foot off to the right, slide the hand down and out, and then foot to foot, drop the butt, straighten the leg. Again, lift the hip. Lower the hips to the ground. Bend the left knee so that the left foot touches the right foot. And then lift the hips and just slide quick underneath. Pivot the foot behind you to face your front knee. Pivot the foot off to the right. Slide it out. Foot to foot. Drop the hips. Straighten the leg. Let's try the other side. So left knee is bent 90 degrees. 45 degrees away from the body. Right leg is straight. Right hand out behind. Left hand straight up towards this guy. So not down here, but straight up. Because that helps you kind of think of what's going up. But if you punch up, then you're better off lifting the hips. So go ahead and lift the hips. Lower the hips. Just bend the right knee, bring the right foot beside the left foot. Pivot the chest towards the thumb. Slide the knee underneath the hip. And then pivot the foot behind you to face the front knee. Awesome. Hand plants down and out. I'm in line with your knee. Just think foot to foot. Drop the butt. Straighten the right leg. Good. Hip bridge. Lower the hips. Bend the right knee, foot to foot. Press down through the hand back here, the right hand that's on the ground. Use that to lift and quickly pivot the knee under the hip. And then shift to face the front knee. Pivot the right foot off to the left. Hand down. Foot to foot, drop. Straighten the leg. One more time. Lift the hips. Lower the hips. Bend the knee, foot to foot. Lift the hips. Pivot the knee underneath the hip. And shift towards the front knee. Awesome. Hand down in line with your knee. Foot to foot, drop the hip, straighten the leg. Good. So we're going to come back onto our right side. Actually, before we do that, we're going to come onto our back. So roll all the way down just to give our hands a break. And just shift the hips side to side. Roll onto your right side. Come up onto your right elbow. Bend both knees. And lift the hips off the ground. Reach the left arm up, and you're going to twist and reach underneath your rib cage with your left hand. And then lift back up. Twist, lift the hips towards the sky as you twist, and then back up. Try that 4 more times. So each time you twist, lift the right hip as far away from the ground as you can. And feel more of the rotation happening in your upper torso. Good. Last 2. Good. Lower the hips. And repeat on the other side. So just to see it from the back side. So on your left side now. Knees are bent slightly out in front of your hips. Go ahead and lift the hips off the ground. Reach the right arm up. As you reach under, lift your left hip as far away from the floor as you can. And then open. So we have this kind of little lift of the hips and the ribs away from the floor, which is similar to what we're going to do when we go into the more complex transition. Go ahead and lower the hips and come onto your back. So we're putting the pieces together. So start lying on your right side. Make a fist with your right hand. Elbow is close to the body. Hands are close to your chest or your face. Left hand is on top of your right fist. Left hip and shoulder move you to the ground. Left arm and leg land 45 degrees away from your body. One time, we're going to find that thing from the beginning of class and use that cross body to pull us up onto our elbow. Rotate chest towards your thumb and come up onto your hand. So you can pause and watch in this position for what the next part is. So you can always do what we just did, which is bring that foot in and get there that way. Or you can lift, knee bends towards the chest, and then we roll the chest towards the ground as that back hip lifts. And we're going to try that a few times. So you're going to come out of it by bringing the knee to the chest and then leg straight. So come into that post position. So right knee is bent at 90 degrees, and a lot of people will go way too deep, 90 degrees. It's not 30, 90. Right foot is on the ground, left foot turns out. Push down through your left hand, lift the hips. Pause and think, I'm going to pull my knee to my chest, and I have to bend my knee and my hip to get there. And then just dip the knee to the ground. So just drop it underneath of you. And then to come out of it, I'm going to pull my knee to my chest, and then I'm going to straighten it. Knee to chest, drop it right underneath your hip. And again, take a break. What I typically see is that people try to make this move way too big and way too complicated. And it'll look like this. So what they don't do is bend the knee, right? They just go like this. They think of sweeping it back, and then the knee's way back there, and then they can't lift up because it looks a little bit like this, right? So from this position, what people typically do is just slide and reach, and then they can't drop the knee. If you think, bend the knee to chest, and then drop it under the knee. Drop it under the knee. Drop it under the knee or the hip. So we're going to try that. So come into the same setup. Legs 45 degrees away from the body. Bend the right knee. Left hand behind you, right arm up. Turn the left foot out. Push hard through the right foot. Lift the hips. Bend the hip, bend the knee to the chest. And then just drop it under your hip. Keep the knee bent, bring it to your chest, straighten. Knee to chest, drop it under your hip. Knee to chest, straighten it. Lower the hip, lower the elbow, lower the spine. And I see some confusion. It is challenging, but sometimes we make something more challenging by overthinking it. So let's come back and try the left side now. So start on your left side. Make a fist with your left hand. Elbows close to the chest, hand cups, right hand cups on top. Roll onto your back, right arm, right leg, 45 degrees away from your body. Find that first movement. So we're coming up onto our elbow. So cross body, roll up. Good. Take your hand and come to post position. Make sure left knee is bent at 90 degrees. If the heel is too close to the hip, it won't work. So take the foot a little further away from your body. Good. Aim your chest either towards your thumb, or you could even think looking at your right foot. Press the hips up, bend the knee to the chest, and just drop it to the floor. And that's what we did, right? That's that side plank thing that we did before we did this. We rotated the chest towards the ground and lifted the hips away from the floor. Bend knee to chest, straighten. Bend knee to chest, knee to ground. Bend knee to chest, straighten. One more time, bend knee to chest, roll the chest towards the ground, hip lifts, knee to chest, straighten, hip down, elbow down, roll all the way down. Take a break. Now roll your wrist in either direction. Pull the knees in towards the chest. Rock a little side to side. And then let the knees hang just in the fingertips as the knees kind of traction the wrist by the feet, kind of holding heavy towards the ground. So we're almost there. We did repetition of that because through repetition, we learn. And it's these transitions that are sometimes rocky and rough that if we kind of ignore them and brush through them, we're not set up for the next part. So let's come on to our right side and we're going to go into the full get-up. So start lying on your right side. Make a fist with your right hand. Grip the left hand over it. Left side, shoulder and hip. Move you back to the ground. Make sure left leg and arm are 45 degrees away. Right knee is bent to 90, right hand and point straight up towards the sky. Find that cross-body connection. Use that to pull you up onto your elbow. And then press down through the hand to lift you up into post. Make sure right knee is bent at 90 degrees. Here we go. Decide which transition you're going to use. Either one of them works, but lift the hips first. If you're dropping down and using the foot, do that. Otherwise, just sweep the knee to the ground and then you turn to face your right knee. In order to do that, you have to slip the left foot behind you so it's straight behind you. Tuck left toes under. Press through your right foot as you reach the left heel back to come to stand. We got up. We're going to get down the same way we got up. So step, left leg, back. Lower, left knee straight down to the ground. You got to pivot your left foot over to the right. At the same time, reach the left hand down to the ground. Knee to chest, kick through. Butt down, elbow down, spine down. Bend the right elbow towards the ground and roll onto your right side. Keep the fist on the ground. Take it over your head as you roll onto your left side. So that's called the halo. It's a transition we'll use eventually. So now we go on to left side work. So right side rolls back to bring you onto the ground. Right arm, left leg, 45 degrees, left knee bent at 90, right fist towards the ground. Find that cross body. Exhale, chin tucks and looks at the right hip to pull you up onto your elbow. Come up to your hand. Make sure left knee is bent at 90, right foot's turned out. We go up into that hip bridge. Decide, are you going to drop the hips? Or are you going to bend knee to chest and just drop the knee directly under your right hip? And then pivot the right foot behind you as you turn to face your left knee. Press through the left foot. Find the full tripod of the foot. Right heel presses back. Come to stand. Good. When we get down, step the same leg back. So right leg steps back. Bend the knee towards the ground. Pivot right foot over to the left. Right hand slides down the knee and out. Knee to chest, so pull it in. Hip flexes. Then leg straightens. Drop hip to the ground. Elbow to the ground. And roll back down. Bend the elbow towards your chest and roll onto your left side. Keep the fist on the ground as you bring it over your head and roll back to the right. We're going to do it again. So just switch the fist. Right is the fist, left grips on top. Roll onto your back. Find your 45s, your knee and fist up. Tuck the chin, look towards your left hip, come up onto elbow. Come to post. Check your knee, right knee's bent, left leg out, hip bridge. Are you going to drop the hips or are you going to bring knee to chest and just drop the knee under the hip? Sweep the foot behind you to face your right knee. And then stand up. Good. Step the left leg back. Bend the left knee to the ground. Sweep the left foot off to the right as you bring your hand down and out from your knee. Knee to chest, and then kick the leg long. Hip, elbow, spine. Bend elbow towards the floor as you do roll to your right. Keep the fist on the ground as you roll through center and all the way over to your left. Switch your grip. So left hand is gripped, right hand grips on top. Right shoulder and hip initiate the move. Roll to your 45s. Make sure knees bent at 90. Chin tucks and gazes over towards your right hip as you come to elbow press. Check your knee, come up to your hand. Lift your buckle towards the sky. Take your transition, knee to chest or foot drags in, and then pivot. Fist is still straight up towards the sky. Tuck the toe. Weight in the front leg. Come to stand. Good. Step the right leg back. Lower the knee down. Hand to the ground as you pivot. Knee to chest. Kick through. Elbow. Spine. Good. So take a break. And I'm going to show you what our next challenge is. So we have this handy dandy little shoe. And one of the tricks of the Get-Up is that eventually we load it, right? We put a weight or preferably a kettlebell in the hand. And what tends to happen when we do this with no weight is this arm that we have lifted the whole time goes all over the place, right? So a great way to practice the Get-Up is to make a super tight fist, which means all of the fingers roll into the palm of the hand, and then your thumb wraps around. You're going to place the shoe on the top of your fist. And no, you may not hold it like this. Fist, balance. You go through all of the motions with the shoe on the fist. And what this trains you to do is that arm always has to be pushing up towards the sky. And if you don't, the shoe falls off. Obviously, you can't roll to the side because it will fall off. But let's try it. And remember, you don't have to do the sweep through of the leg. You can bend the knee and bring the feet together and figure out a way to come up onto your knee from there. So start by making a fist by rolling all of your fingernails into the palm of your hand and then crossing the thumb over the knuckles. Take your shoe and place it on your fist. And the reason you want a light shoe is because it will likely fall off, and if it falls on your head, it hurts. Good. All right, so left side of your body is out 45 degrees. You have to push your knuckle into your shoe to roll up onto your left elbow. So try it. Did you get there? Or do you need to try multiple times? It keeps you honest. So if you were able to do it once, maybe try it a couple more times. If not, keep trying to get that first time of fist up. Good. If you're not able to get there, just go ahead and come up onto the elbow and just bring the shoe back on your foot and then come to your hand. Keep punching the fist straight up into the bottom of your shoe. Lift your hips and sweep the knee under. And then figure out what you have to do to keep that fist, that shoe, on the top of your fist. And then come up to stand. And likely the shoe will fall off when you try to get up that first time. And then to come out of it, keep punching the fist straight up into the bottom of your shoe. Slowly come down to the knee. I like this because it also slows down. Pivot the foot. Bring the hand to the ground. Notice where you have to move your arm and your shoulder to keep the foot or the shoe on your hand. Kick through. Elbow down. Roll the spine down. So if it was really hard on one side, it might be a little bit easier on the other side. So if you couldn't do it, that's okay. You can try again. But let's go ahead and go to the left side and just see if there's a difference. So hands curl into the palm of your hands. Thumb wraps. It matters. You want to have the flattest part of your palm, of your fist, hold your shoe. Right arm and leg out, 45 degrees away from your body. Left knee bent to 90. This is the hardest transition, I feel like, with the shoe. So as you come up under your elbow, think of punching. And you can see I'm kind of lifting my shoulder off the ground first. We did that at the beginning. So push up and then come up onto your elbow. And if you couldn't do it, maybe try it a couple of times. And if you could do it, maybe try it a couple of times, because this is the hardest transition with the shoe. And then once you're up to your elbow, if you weren't able to get there without dropping it, go ahead and come up to your elbow and just put the shoe on your fist. And then come to post, so up on your hand. And then maybe think push, fist towards the sky, lift the hips, knee to chest. This one's hard too because the fist has to keep pointing up as you come into that knee pivot. And then punch the fist up as you've come from your foot to stand. And then right foot steps back. You got to go slow here. Lower down. Hand to the ground. And if I've lost you, just know this is a great way to practice shoulder positioning, core stability of your get-up. Awesome. So now we start to add in the repetition, right? We're going to go ahead and come onto our backs. We're not going to repeat right now, but hopefully after repeating this over and over for the last month, we've now finally put the flow of the get-up together. So we've taken out those additional stretches. We've worked on those hard transitions that can be hard to get through. And we've added the prop of the shoe. The one thing I do want to show with the weight is the halo. I like this way better with a kettlebell, but most of us don't have a kettlebell. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I have the side that I am on, I have that hand holding the weight and the other hand coming on top. Now what is important is that you don't go way out here, right? So you want to keep the elbows close and you want to keep them bent. In order to transition from side to side, when we do, like when we finish one side and we roll to the other side, I'm going to turn the weight on its edge. I'm going to keep it close to the ground. I don't want to scratch my floor, so it's not on the ground. But then I roll to the other side. And what it looks like coming back, elbows stay bent as I roll through. You can see it's up. And then once I get to that side, I let it drop down. And then I'm ready for that first transition. So let's all start on the right side. Hold the weight in your right hand and then take your left hand and place it over. Pull the weight in towards your chest, and then you're going to turn the weight up on the side so that the thumb edges of your hands are closest to the ground. You're going to roll on your back, keep the weight close to the floor, and if you're on carpet, you can just let it drag, or if it's on your mat, let it drag, and then you end up in that fetal position on the other side, and you just switch your grip. So now the left hand grips it and the right hand grips on top. Turn it to the top of your weight, so one of the ends of the weight, that the thumb sides of your hands are down. Keep it on the ground. Halo it over your head. Elbows stay bent. Once you're all the way on your right side, drop the weight down flat. So you're gripping now with your right hand. Left hand is over. So just try that transition a few times. The knees kind of swing through center. Each time you roll onto the opposite side, just switch your grip and then come back through. And last time, both ways. So you end up lying on that right side. And you can just get rid of the weight. Roll back onto your back. Extend the legs long to the ground. Let everything go. And tune back into your body. So notice the feet. How close or far away are each of your feet? I definitely feel a change there. Notice how the weight sets on either side of your pelvis. Notice the edges of your sacrum. And does it feel a little heavier on one side of your sacrum than the other? And then trace the spine from the tip of the tailbone all the way to the base of the neck, the top of the neck, where the neck meets your skull. And then notice, does your nose point towards the sky or does your chin point towards the sky? How far or close away from the floor is the back of your neck? And also your lower back. And finally, notice the shoulder blades. So we did the get-up, probably a total from ground to standing, maybe 8 times. We did a lot in between that are parts of the Get-Up. But as we move towards progressing to where we finally load the Get-Up, it is suggested that you have done at least 50 total. That doesn't mean in one setting. That means all of the times that we've practiced the Get-Up in all of these classes. And all of the times that maybe you have practiced the Get-Up in between. Before you load the Get-Up for the entire Get-Up, practicing it at least 50 times. That shoe challenge is a great way to really nail down the kind of nuances and subtleties of the Get-Up. Go ahead and bend your knees. Roll to either side and press up to get up. All right. So your challenge is to maybe repeat the Get-Up on your own multiple times between now and next week. You never have to load the Get-Up unless you're ready to. But I will be challenging you next week with actually loading the Get-Up. It's the final week of the month. It's time to load it. So just to look forward to that and maybe see if you can kind of practice it on your own to figure it out.